All right, hey, how's it going? Welcome back. Um, this is going to be another video where, again, it's not necessarily focused on uh, retirement, early retirement, like financial things like that. Last video did I kind of talked about my military career, and I don't have too many military uh, related videos or topics on stuff kind of for the military. But on this one, I just want to talk about like the current job that I'm in. I work in cybersecurity. So on my last video, I was kind of talking about on my last and final enlistment in the Marine Corps. Um, I had basically I just finished my last deployment, or it would have been my sixth deployment. And while I was on that deployment, I had gotten passed over for the second time as a gunnery sergeant. And if you didn't know, in the military, it's kind of like up or out. You get two chances to get promoted, and if you get passed over, like if they don't select you, for a year, that's called being passed over. If you get passed over twice, that's it. Your career's done. So um, sometimes that's a good thing. There's good things and bad things about it. It does keep um, everything kind of fresh and dynamic in the Marine Corps. Some disadvantages because they kind of sometimes for whatever the reason good people sometimes have to retire early, or they sometimes they don't even get to retire. Um, it is kind of, I'm not gonna say luck of the draw, but this kind of is what it is. Like if you got promoted extremely early, um, like I've known like a master sergeant or someone that got promoted to master sergeant, and I think they're in their third enlistment. Man, you almost got 10 years. I hope you get promoted. I think he probably did, but sometimes getting promoted early isn't a good thing. But anyway, back on track. So throughout my whole career, I was always interested in computers. I had grown up with Apple IIe's, and I remember getting magazines that had programming code in it, and like if you wanted a game, you would just literally type everything out uh, on that was on the pages of the magazine to play a game. Um, so from that to having my own Windows computers. I remember DOS 6.2 and Windows 3.1. Kind of dating myself, but I'd always been interested. And even on my first enlistment, um, I was considering, and this was even before I got married, I was considering getting out and going to a kind of like a training school for like Microsoft like certifications like MCSE, MCSA. Windows are actually a thing. So yeah, I was always into computers. Um, got distracted for like 10 plus years because I kept on getting deployed and sent to Iraq and training and all that stuff. But um, on my last deployment when I got passed over, and I had about 2 years um, before I retired. And I'd taken some college classes, got a lot of the basics out of the way. Um, but I knew when like I got out that uh, like I didn't know how much disability I was going to get, but the amount of money that I was going to get from my retirement was not enough to live off of. So it's like okay, I have to find a job, um, and generally, you know, to get a good job, you generally need some kind of schooling. It doesn't have to be college, but like if I wanted to be a truck driver, I would have to figure out some way to go to truck driver school. If I wanted to be an accountant, I would like do accounting classes and stuff like that. If anything that is I wasn't going to work retail. Um, I ended up sort of kind of, and I'll get into that. But so I was like, okay, I'll really try. Let's see if I can finish my degree in information systems security. I finished my degree at the American Military University. It's an online school. Um, classes were okay. I would say the classes are what you made it. Like if you just wanted to like cheat and get the assignments done, and if you didn't actually care about the material and stuff like that, yeah, definitely you can probably pass all the classes and not learn a thing. Um, I actually kind of cared, so like I spent a lot of time and did a lot of classes in a short period of time, and I learned a lot, but there's still that problem with having academic knowledge versus like stuff that actually goes on in a real world. Like if you're in a like a and actually like a medium to large enterprise, big difference. Like case in point, when I was doing training for networking, like CCNA, classes, you'll learn to work with like running configs and starting configs, and it might be 50 to 100 lines because they're just, like it's a very basic level. But man, the first time you see a production router, like a core router or something like that, and it's like 3,500 lines, oh man, that is a different scale of analyzing completely. And yeah, no amount of school, unless you have prior knowledge, no amount of school is gonna train you for like real world conditions because it would be too hard. And yeah, so I was able to finish my degree right before I retired, and also passed the Sec Plus exam um, in the American Military University for the Information Systems Security degree. If you've ever heard of the CISSP certification, or I could pretty much tell that like my bachelor's degree was kind of loosely planned around that certification, even though it's a manager level certification. Uh, we learned about databases. We learned about like just information assurance stuff, like risk management and business continuity plans, and it just like all not very technical, but still very important stuff for businesses in general, and cybersecurity, compliance, all the legal stuff. And that's a lot of what that CISSP certification is. So, get my degree, get the certification, retire. Um, I had the opportunity to be a general manager for let's say a therapy, kind of like massage therapy or something like that. But like a studio that was going to open up, and I was like, well, okay, this, I'll be in charge of I'll be the like the manager of the store, and it was a unique opportunity, so I took it, and I was there from when they first broke ground, for lack of a better word, to when they finished construction and started the business from scratch, and I did that for about a year and a half until uh, like it was extremely hard, um, and anybody who's worked retail in general knows that like as a manager, you're trying to make the numbers, and you're having to deal with customers, and even having to deal with employees that are sometimes uncooperative and not helpful at all. Uh, and after about a year and a half of it, I was pretty sick of it. Imagine coming from like the military, where everybody for the most part is in one frame of mind, and they all want success, and they're all hard chargers and stuff like that, and generally, especially as a gunnery sergeant or master master sergeant or above, generally you tell somebody to do something, they're just going to do it to the best of their ability because that's just what they've been trained to do. Going from that to managing a store where you're trying to herd your employees, that some might come in drunk, some might not come in, some might come in a different uniform, to where you have customers, like I would literally have customers, like we would do our thing, and they would want to sign for, oh hey, 5 stretches or 5 massages or in a month, and you pay X amount of dollars. I literally had some, like, they would like say, yeah, I want to do it. Let me go get my wallet. I left it in my car, and they would just never come back. Or you would have people sign up, and then no joke, like an hour later, they call and want to cancel the contract. To just people who straight up they would just ghost on you, and they wouldn't return calls. They would block your phone numbers. They would challenge any like charges on their credit card. And if you didn't know, if a customer like challenges a charge on their account, I get like I'm just saying, to me, from my point of view, I would get like a $15 charge. If I wanted to challenge it and I lost, that would be another $15 charge. If I won, I'd get the money back. I had never, out of all the ones that I challenged, ever won. I even had videotapes of customers signing contracts, because we have like security cameras, and I would send the videotapes to the bank, and they would always side with the customer. So eventually, it just got to where I it's an unenforceable contract. Like, what am I going to do? Sue? Like, they could just ghost on you, and the banks will always side with customers. So just all around, I was really frustrated, and it just also happened to coincide with all the COVID lockdowns. So, like, prior to that, I was looking for a job, and I went on vacation. This was the 2020. I went on vacation from Texas over to Sequoia National Park, and as I'm driving up there, I get a call from the company that I currently work at, and they said, "Yeah, we'd like to hire you." It's like, "All right, great. Can I start in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever?" They said, "Yeah, no problem." Um, so we go on our vacation. We go off grid because we're out in the wilderness, out in the among the sequoia trees, and life is good. We'd been hearing about this COVID stuff building up more and more and more until I just needed to get gas in my truck. We drive down the mountain to get gas, and I get cell phone reception, just kind of check on everybody and see kind of what's going on, because I think it'd been 3 or 4 days at that point. And man, the world was on fire. Like, there was grocery runs, and like everything was being restricted, and it was just like, what is going on? So we cut the vacation short, and like booked it 2 days again, from California back to Texas. We didn't even go home. We went straight to the grocery store, bought a bunch of food, because we heard people were just buying out the grocery stores, and yeah, like the shelves were empty. Like, runs on toilet paper, runs on water, and all that. And then the rest is history. But I started in like kind of what we said, beginning of April, working remotely, and kind of been doing ever since. I just hit my 5-year mark, and I really like the job. So long story short, or yeah, so you can. I'm not the most technically savvy person, and cybersecurity, honestly, especially after 5 years, it is not an entry level position at all. I think you should probably come in either having like the background of a sysadmin, like system administrator, or like a network administrator. When I got hired on, we were just at our company building up the SOC, the Security Operations Center. So I was kind of able to take advantage of joining when we were building out everything. And at that point, we could accept entry-level people. But like 5 years later, and like the progress that we've made as a SOC, yeah, it would have to be a very, very good entry-level person, or someone who has like done an internship with us, and they've had that 6 months or whatever that time period is to kind of for us to evaluate and see how good they are, and kind of the potential that they have. that's how I fell into it. And I'm not even gonna say fall to it. That's how I planned it, and it just happened to work out well. Um, I'm kind of late in my like life career, so I don't really see myself leaving. Obviously, if I get laid off, you know, I'll adjust accordingly. Um, but until then, like if I get laid off at 55, I may not go back to work. Um, I'm not 55 now. I got some time, but it's just one of those things. Like I'm so late in my career because I'm older that like it just almost like I'm getting paid decent money. The job is great. Uh, I guess get my hands on like AWS, Azure stuff, like on-prem data centers, and everything in between. It's really good, and I think it's kind of fun. It's not so uh, like crazy, and my hair's on fire because we're like say at a international MSP, and like every ticket like is a bad thing, but like it's really good, interesting work, and feel lucky that I got it. Um, so that's how I got into cybersecurity. Um, for the ones thinking about it, there are a ton of resources, and what I'll try to do is I'll link just a bunch of stuff. You probably already know most of it anyway, even if you just take a cursory look, like start googling. Um, but cybersecurity is a wide field, um, and you have to know quite a bit. And like the amount of knowledge you need to know is a mile wide, and it might start off at an inch thick, but as you kind of find your groove, you'll start getting deeper and deeper. Like nobody's going to know everything about everything, but you can essentially, like a doctor, you can kind of specialize and get really good at network security or Active Directory or just different things, and that's kind of maybe something I recommend. There are a ton of resources out there. A lot of them are free, um, but this isn't a job that is going to be anything where you get your degree and then you come to work and that's it. Like there is constant reading. The bad guys are constantly evolving their tactics, and constantly. We try to force um, about a 10 to 15% learning, but if you have a project that deals with a lot of stuff you haven't been exposed to, like not only are you investing that maybe 1 hour a day on training on stuff like that, but you're probably investing a couple more hours throughout the week just to get an understanding about a new tool that you can employ to do your job, or like reading up on uh, new ransomware techniques or new phishing techniques and stuff like that. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if I probably spend 30 to 50% of my time reading and researching just on like current projects and investigations and incident responses and things like that, because that's just the nature of the beast. You'll never stop learning because you can't, or you're no good. And yeah, kind of if uh, investigating phishing emails sounds interesting, or trying to figure out why an alert happened on some EDR tool, regardless of whether it's a false positive, false negative, true positive, true negative, like determining all that, like if that sounds fun, you might enjoy cybersecurity. Uh, there's the governance side of things where you want to make sure that for lack of a better word, like the things that we say we're doing, we're actually doing. You might enjoy it. If you are in like infantry or combat arms in the military, uh, I'm sure you've heard the term operational risk management, where there's an operation, like whether it's training or real life stuff, and you identify risks. Okay, hey, there's a risk to us shooting our own people. What controls are we going to put in place to ensure that that doesn't happen? That totally applies into business continuity, disaster recovery, risk management, and all that stuff. Like you find out, okay, well, what are the risks to us, getting ransomware? okay, fairly high. All right, what controls do we have in place? Are we doing those controls? Are those controls effective? Like, do we have backup? Like, that's it. On a large enough company, risk management, uh, disaster recovery, business continuity, like planning, but on a large enough company, those are jobs in and of themselves. And I think for military people who have had like years and decades sometimes exposure to that same framework of thinking, y'all be really good at it. I think cybersecurity, providing you like tech and like computers, is a good extension of what you're doing. Like it's, defense, national defense, you know, company defense. Like it's related. Not exactly. You're not going to shoot people, but it's related. So just something to consider. Uh, yeah, that's how I got into cybersecurity. A lot of work, a lot of luck. Um, but I hope you like this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, and I'd be happy to answer them as best I can. Um, and check out the comments. I'll throw a few links on there on resources for like free training or relatively cheap training. We're talking like 10, sometimes $20 a month. Um, and if you like it, use it. But that'll be not even the grand total of like all the stuff that's out there. There's a bunch of stuff out there. So hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you like it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.